In Lucy's room in Ophelis Hall, Lucy was silent at the moment as she wore a bored look. Her current punishment was really excruciating for her, she even felt that she would rather die. She became house arrest not long ago and the time left until her suspension was over was 29 days, somewhere near the sea, 3 hours before Lortel and Princess Phinia met. Ed was practicing there. There was a lioness with a whole body composed of water that pounced on him, but Ed was able to block the lioness's pounce with a dagger. Not only that, he then slashed the dagger into the body of the water lioness, which made the body of the lioness instantly destroyed, and turned into a puddle. But, although the body of the lioness had been destroyed by him, the lioness was able to reshape her body shortly after and continued to attack him from all directions. After fighting for who knows how long against the water lioness, Ed then stopped. His breathing was visibly labored at this time. Doing such high-intensity training seemed to have consumed a lot of his stamina. After seeing his training just now, Mug deep down felt admiration. He felt that he was really extraordinary, his reflexes and adaptability were great, he felt very touched. He also respectfully advised him to stop today's training until here. There were not only Ed and Mug, but also the intermediate water spirit, Leisha. She was also the one who had become his sparring partner earlier. After feeling his strength directly, Leisha admiringly said to him, "For a mage, you have become very good at close combat. It seems that you have gone through a lot of training." Hearing that, Ed humbly said, "All this is thanks to you. Sparring with you has helped me a lot, because Mug is too weak to be a sparring partner. As for sparring with Marilda, he feels that it is impossible." Ed then opened his status window. His various stats have undergone a shocking change this time. His current stats were too far compared to when he first possessed Ed Rothtailor's body. Hearing that, Leisha said that a match with Miss Marilda would be more beneficial, but Ed disagreed with her words. He felt that he would definitely die right away if he fought such a big wolf. Leisha didn't argue, she continued, "High-level spirits are able to change their form freely. Thanks to that, she can roam easily in the Arkan Island." After finishing his training and seeing the increase in his stats, somehow, this gave him a kind of sense of satisfaction. His various stats have increased to the dozens at the moment, but the value of stats rarely increases beyond 15, exceeding that number requires special requirements such as completing hidden quests. Considering the specs achievable by Ed Rothtailor, he's almost at the upper limit. This made him wonder, once the long-standing goal of mastering intermediate-tier magic is complete, should I consider a special ability? However, he can't just rest on his laurels and stop his progress. But, while Ed was resting after finishing his training, he was then surprised when he saw someone who suddenly came to visit him. That person was Lortel. Lortel froze for a moment with a blushing face when looking at his stomach. She said that she was just enjoying the scenery. Lortel then took out a rag and wiped the sweat from his face. She understood that he was frustrated by living in isolation like this. However, she asked him to rest while he could, but Ed didn't feel that way. He even felt that it was more comfortable here than in the forest. He also got help with everything such as food, clothing, and shelter. Hearing that, Lortel had a guess. She then asked, "Was it from Senior Janica?" Ed confirmed it, mostly. Looking at Leisha who was sitting not far away, Lortel then asked, "Are you also practicing with the spirit?" With a blushing face, Lortel suddenly blinked one of her eyes. She then hugged her hand, and said, "It means that the spirits have seen everything." Mug immediately shouted in panic seeing that, "This is an emergency." Lortel laughed at his behavior. Ed then glanced at her and confusedly asked, "What are you planning?" Hearing that, Lortel said that she just wanted to visit Princess Phinia. She had already thought of a plan to get some gold coins when the election was running later, but before that, she wanted to finish her business with him first. Ed had previously asked her if Caden and Nox could be released. Lortel said that releasing the two retainers according to his request was easy, but it wasn't free. She came here to take an advance. Ed was then confused and surprised to hear that. With a beaming face, Lortel then asked could he hug her. Ed was then shocked to hear her request, but he then could only sigh helplessly. As Lortel happily waited for her request to be granted, Ed, without saying a word, suddenly hugged her. It really made Lortel unprepared. Her face was so red that it was like a tomato and her heart was beating so fast like a drum. She then stammeringly asked Ed to wait for a while. With a blushing face, Lortel suddenly pushed his body away. Ed was then surprised and confused at that. He confusedly asked, "What are you doing?" Lortel said, "Normally, attacking and defending are two different things. Lortel's head was so hot right now that it seemed to be emitting smoke. She said that she was also flustered right now. This feeling was very different from the few scenes she had imagined. Before coming here, the thing that makes her the most unprepared is, why is he sitting there with his clothes off? She has tried to handle this situation internally, in her own way. Lortel said that he should consider it, mutual respect and all. Ed really doesn't understand what she is saying. He says that he is just doing what she asks, even so, but, Lortel then leans her head against his chest and asks him to do it slowly. Actually, she came here because she wants to hear his answer. Directly, Lortel asks if he still remembers, when she asked him to take her side at least once someday. Hearing that, Ed then hugged her back and asked, "You must be planning something right." While smiling faintly, Lortel said that she felt like she would have a lot of enemies soon, even if she ended up making the whole academy her enemy. At least, she wanted him by her side. Back to the present, in the royal member's residence, Phenia's private room. Seeing her coming to visit her, Phenia then asked her, "So, what is the need for you to look for me?" While drinking her tea, Lortel said that she came here to ask why she was hiding Tanya. The reason why Lortel could guess why Tanya could be here was, because she at that time heard Zix who told Tanya to come to a place where she could ask for help after she managed to escape. Since she was the heir of the Roth-Taylor family, the most logical thing was to ask for help from the royal authorities, or a noble family she knew. Based on Zix's words, Lortel then made a guess. If Tanya escaped to the residential area, this place was the destination with the highest probability that she would go. The fact that the academy did not know her whereabouts strengthened her hypothesis. Hearing that Lortel was asking about Tanya, Phenia pretended to be calm. She then asked her, "But why would someone like you look for Tanya in the first place?" Princess Phenia was good at hiding her emotions, but, to Lortel she looked like an open book. Lortel smiled faintly. She then said, "If I have to answer, there's some personal baggage I need to unload. As you know, I am a petty and opportunistic person. I am weak towards people I cannot touch, but merciless towards those weaker than me." Hearing that, Phenia then drank her tea to calm down. She then said to her, "The Roth-Taylor family has so much influence that even the royal family acts very carefully when it comes to them. If you say that Tanya, who is the heir of the Roth-Taylor family, is weaker than you, isn't that a questionable thing?" Lortel didn't completely refute her words. She then stood up from her chair. "I indeed can't touch the Roth-Taylor family, but Tanya, who is under my control in terms of economy, is definitely a weak person for me. But if the princess sides with her wholeheartedly, catching her can indeed be difficult. Of course I have anticipated that. That's why I have prepared something." Phenia was surprised and nervous to hear that, with a scary look directed at her. Lortel said that she would run for the student council president election. She was confident in her identity as student council president and head of the outstore company. Tanya would inevitably have to meet her, but she also realized that only if she pressured her with more power. After saying that, Lortel then walked away from there. Seeing Lortel leave, Phenia then returned to Tanya and told her. She told her that she could not hide forever. The retainers of the Roth-Taylor family had already been detained, and every route out of Arkan Island was also under Lortel's control. Lortel Ketchum had always paid special attention to Ed Roth-Taylor. Based on circumstantial evidence, she must think she was the culprit. Phenia could only sigh helplessly at the thought. This was not an ideal situation. Hearing that, Tanya then thanked her for telling her that. Now, Phenia said that she had to ask her about this. If it was not her who instigated this murder, then who arranged it? Tanya was silent for a moment hearing that, then answered, "Me." Phenia was then surprised to hear her answer. Tanya explained, "Caden and Knox were sent to Sylvania on the pretext of helping me, and the person who gave the order was the head of the Roth-Taylor family, Crefin Roth-Taylor. Father never cared about brother. The reason he suddenly made such an extreme decision was most likely because I had mentioned him in a message about my recent activities. The trigger for the terrible fate that my brother experienced was me." Tanya felt very guilty and sad when she said that. Seeing that, Phenia then comforted her. It was not her fault, but, Tanya said that she still could not stand by and do nothing. Phenia then was surprised and confused to hear that. She then asked, "Then what are you planning?" Tanya replied, "In this land of knowledge, Sylvania, my brother has shown that people can change when they refuse to give up. There is only one way, so that I can survive and expose the truth behind my brother's murder." Tanya then wiped the tears that came out of her eyes. With a face full of determination, she then said to her, I will run for the student council president election." Hearing that, Phineas said that this path would not be easy, especially when she was suspected of being the perpetrator of the murder. Tanya also realized that this would not be an easy path, but, when she thought of the person who had helped her when she was cornered, and for the sake of her brother, she realized that she could not continue to be afraid like this. Hearing that, Phineas then made a decision. She asked her, "Then, what if I support you officially?" Tanya was then shocked to hear that. She then confusedly asked her why she wanted to go that far. Phineas herself did not know how to answer when she heard that. She said that she herself was confused about how to say it. She then clasped Tanya's hand, while smiling at her. She said that she also have a debt she couldn't repay to Ed Roth-Taylor. Meanwhile, at the Alt store office in Sylvania, Lortel was busy taking care of a lot of paperwork at the moment, while carrying various documents that piled up until they formed like a book. A female employee told her that she had collected all the documents related to the submission document. She was still feeling surprised at the moment. She apparently seriously wanted to run for the student council president election. She had received information that Tanya would also running. She heard that Phineas would also make a statement of support. Even so, in the current situation, her approval rating did not look promising considering that she was suspected of killing her own sibling. So she was surprised, because she still continued to take care of all the work alone, even to the point of cutting her sleeping hours, and now she was also run for the student council president election. She was confused if she could do all this. The female employee was the secretary of the deputy head of the Alt store, Liena. Hearing her who asked a lot of unnecessary questions, Lortel then asked her to please ask only the necessary things. Liena's face immediately turned scared hearing that. She then immediately apologized to her. Then, she said she would submit this document to the academy immediately. With Lena's departure, the office then regained its silence. Now there was only Lortel and various documents there. With Ed Roth-Taylor presumed dead, the Sylvania Academy's student council election begins. The reason why Lortel said things like that to Lena was because it was something that didn't need to be asked, everything she would know soon enough. The distorted scenario unfolds in Lortel's hands, every second passes with urgency. Meanwhile in Lucy's room, Lucy was playing with her pillow at this time. After several attempts, she was then very happy because she finally managed to make it stand up, but her joy did not last long. What she got next was an emptiness. She could only be silent when she saw the pillow falling back. She then called the maid and asked her about how many days left. While smiling at her, the maid replied, 27 days left, but she then remembered something. The disciplinary proposal was passed yesterday. She was sure there must be a lot of academic work to be taken care of for it to be delayed like this. Lucy immediately felt depressed hearing that. The maid sighed helplessly. Administrative work is always like that. It means they should reset the countdown starting from yesterday, so, now it means there are 29 days left. Lucy's body immediately went limp when she heard that. Her gaze seemed lifeless at the moment. Not all time flows in the same way.